Hi everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the Born to Fish sign. Today we're going to focus on doing the fish, and as always I start with the pattern and I glue it down, or I traced it down on this particular one, and then I head to the scroll saw to start cutting it out. But before I get too far ahead of myself, hi, I'm Donna, and on our channel we like to show you woodworking projects that we have made and that have sold really well for us, so you can make and sell them as well. And today is no different. I like to do a lot of wood art projects, and this is yet another one. So, like I said, the patterns are available on our Etsy store if that's something that you're interested in. The link will be in the description below. And there is a part 1 to this video where we do all the lettering. So if you want to check that out as well, I'll have that in the link as well. So you can see here I'm cutting out the fish on the scroll saw, and I start by cutting basically the outline of it, and then I'll start cutting away the pieces. And I want to say I never strive for perfection. I don't think it exists. So you'll notice when I start cutting through some of these lines where they're wiggly lines, I might not follow the exact line. I just get the texture of the wood with the wiggles and all of that sort of thing. And on this particular piece, this is about a 3/4 inch piece of scrap pine that I had. So for us, this is what we would consider high profit. This would cost about, I don't know, maybe less than $5 in supplies. It's scrap wood, but even if you had to buy it, it would only be $1 or $2. And the paint, it's quite minimal. So I'm guessing there's probably about $5 to make this. And we would sell a piece like this for probably between, I don't know, $60, $70, depending on the size of it. The one that we're making here works out to be total complete around 20 by 20. And then we do always use a framing method, Chris's 2x4 framing method, where you can make a frame for right around $1.50 a piece. We do have a separate video on that. I can put that also in the description if you're interested to learn how to make your own frames. It's a great way to finish these pieces off. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. We love to hear from you, and we will answer any questions that you do have. And I should also let you know we do have a website, ideas2idit.com. And on our website, we go into more detail into our methods and into just some general woodworking and DIY information. We do projects, different woodworking projects, not just wood art. There is quite a bit of wood art as well. And we also have a newsletter. And if you sign up for our newsletter, we will send you a free wood art project, and we'll email it to you. And then you could give wood art a try and see if it's something that you would like to do for free. It'd be a great way to give it a try. And we also have a brag board that we're thrilled about, where you can upload pictures of the projects you're working on, and we would absolutely love to see them. And I use an old Craftsman scroll saw. That was my dad's. So it's a very sentimental piece for me. My dad passed many years ago. So it's a really great way. I always feel very close to him when I'm using it. It's a great saw. But I think a scroll saw is something you could get quite inexpensively if you bought a used one on Marketplace or something like that to give this a try if it's something that you're interested in. So you can see I'm just going in and cutting out the pieces bit by bit. And this is just a piece around the mouth, and I'll just sort of make my cuts. I always try to cut out the smaller pieces early on when I still have a good amount of wood to hold on to. It just makes it easier. And you'll also notice I don't cut everything out. I won't cut out the eye. I find, for me personally, I love to paint, and I feel I get a better product if I paint the eye versus trying to cut it out and have all the different pieces. But you can do whatever you're most comfortable with. I will go into all the painting of this particular fish, and I really hope you would give it a try. It's not as difficult, I think, as it may look. It's really not, and it's a lot of fun to do. But this fish would also look fantastic done in wood tones. If you just cut it out and then stained the pieces in different tones of stain, so a light, medium, and a dark, you would get a great a great piece as well. What I really find with these signs in general is they're so fun to do because you can customize them so much. It could be for any different interest. It could be born to golf, born to hunt. It could be anything, just gone fishing. You could do so many different things, and it really makes them customizable. That makes it a great product to sell. Being able to offer a custom product, and it's also fantastic for gifts. And so you can see here, this is what I was talking about. I'm following the squiggly lines, but they're by no means perfect to exactly what I drew. And here I'm just cutting the line around the eye just to give it some extra dimension. So here are all my pieces, and I'm going to start the painting process. So I just use acrylic paint, and you can just use paint from the dollar store. And I generally like to water my paint down quite a bit. I like to put it on and then I'll wipe it back. And that allows the grain of the wood to shine through. I really like that, having that texture come through. And I'm also always looking at my pattern to see which edges of the pieces need to be painted, and what ones aren't going to be seen. But even for the ones that aren't going to be seen, you'll notice I do paint down a little bit, maybe 1/4 inch, just to help with where the pieces meet up, to make sure that you can, you're not going to be able to see the raw wood through it. So I've just divided the pieces up into their base colors. Basically, it's an orange, a white, and so I'm just doing that base work now. And we'll get that done. And for the base colors, I'm just pretty much going straight out of the bottle with the orange and the white. Now we are going to come in and do a ton of shadow work and different colors in here as well. So this truly is just the base. So we're just going to jump ahead here in a minute to where it's all done. So here, all the orange pieces are done. And now I'm coming in with a watered down brown paint. And I'm starting to really create all the depth with the shadow work. So I water down the paint, and then I'm just laying down that watered down paint around the edges where the cuts will meet, and around the outside edges. And then I go in with my brush with water on it and kind of diffuse all those edges and really make it, it's really transparent. It's sheer. It lets the orange come through, but it still builds some interest and dimension. So I'm going to do this to all the pieces, and this will really help start to really create a really interesting color and texture, and it gives it a lot of shadows. It really is an easy way to create a ton of texture. And then we'll keep going through this. So I'm basically adding it. It's tempering all of the orange. It's kind of giving it all some depth and dimension. And you'll notice the edges are always darker. And then I diffuse that all along. I use that wet brush to diffuse that paint to really help create a really gentle gradation of that color. I don't want anything to look like it's outlined. I don't want it to be lines. And you'll notice when I go over the side of the pieces, I add a bit more of that brown paint because it would naturally be shadowed under there. And I'm just doing around the eye, those round cuts and the gills. I'm just doing a nice start to the shadow here with the brown paint, and then softening out that edge. And I'm just blending constantly. This is not going to be the finished piece either. This is just the middle step. And you'll notice I keep putting pieces together that go together, and then I'll do a little darker shadow along the edge to really try to build that dimension where the cuts are. And so now I'm using a very thin brush, a liner brush, and I'm going to start really working those lines. So I'm going in with the brown on the gill lines and those lines around the eye, and then I will soften it. I'll put a bit of water on there and just soften them slightly so they're not just a harsh line. And you'll notice I tend to go over things multiple times, building that color up. It's not about getting it done in the first pass. It's about building that color and dimension and depth with many layers of thin paint. And then I'm painting the white of the eye. So that's pretty much just solid white paint. And when I do trace the pattern on, I just use a carbon paper. You could use a graphite paper, whatever you have. And then I'm going in with the brown and I'm just adding the colored part of the eye. I will go in with a bit of black later on just to really enhance that. Now I'm putting it together and you can see the difference this made. It really added the depth to this piece. And now I'm just taking it apart. I don't like how this is just so flat compared to the rest. So I'm just going to put a thin coat over all the orange. Okay, so here it's all together now. I've glued it together now. And so now I'm going to start doing some extra shadow work and highlight work. So the tail where it would join the body would be darker. So I'm just adding, again, I'm just using the same brown paint, just doing another layer, another thin layer. So I'm adding that up and really trying to create that depth. And where the tail fins change, that's also, and where I have a cut line, I'm adding some more darkness there and just kind of fanning it all out, diffusing that color. And now I'm just putting in a few lines, just light lines, same paint, just to try to give that fin some of that streaky look. And now I'm just going up. You'll see I'm kind of all over the place. And I'm just going to keep putting that light brown, the watered down brown paint to create some of that depth going across the top in the hopes of separating the body from that top fin, really trying to emphasize some of the shape here in the head. So I'll just keep going along with this for a bit. And I'm adding a bit more of that brown paint above that white line just to create some more depth. This will also help to create the roundness of the body. And we are going to go in with some other colors to really help bring the fish to life and give it lots of different colors. We'll do that in a bit. Now you can see I'm doing a bit of the shadow work on the white. The white was just that pure white out of the bottle. So now we're trying to add some shadows where that fin would overlay over that white. There'd be a shadow. So I'm working that. Same with the back fin. And you'll see it just really all starts to come together. Now I'm adding some blue paint, which is like a turquoisey blue. And I put just daubs or dots down. And then I come in with a paintbrush with a lot of water on it to diffuse all those edges. And now a bit of orange. Same thing, put the lines down and then go around them with the wet brush to diffuse the edges. And here I realized I had painted that piece orange and it should have been more white. So I'm just touching that up. That's the beauty of paint. You can, if you make a mistake, you can easily go in and fix it. Just let it dry and go in and fix it. Or if it's a fresh mistake, you can just wipe it off. Now for the tail, we're now going to pull in some red. So again, same thing. Put some I don't know, oval shape or dashes down and then come in with the wet brush and diffuse it all. The whole thing with this is we want it to have that soft, layered watercolor type effect. Now I'm going in with brown, doing the same thing and softening all those edges. We don't want it to be like a dot. It's not supposed to be that. It's just supposed to be color markings. And then I'm adding a bit more red to the fins and then darkening up one side of it. And again, these are really inexpensive paints I got from the dollar store, just acrylic paints. They can give you a great result. Adding a bit more of the red to the top fin, or the front fin, I should say. My father was a huge fisherman, and he loved fly fishing. And so I know fishing is one of those things that people really do love to do. Now I'm going to go in with a lighter color. So this is the orange paint with just a bit of white paint in it to lighten it up. And same thing, dots, and then go and diffuse the edges. And now we're just going to darken up that top fin a little bit. And you'll notice I'm leaving the head just the plain orange and brown tones. I'm not putting any of the dots there. So now we're just going to keep adding more shadow to the face and the mouth. Okay, we're almost done. I will put a clear coat over this to protect the paint and then glue it down on the sign with the letters, and then we will frame it. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We appreciate it so much, and we hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.